Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Kong. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Um,
It's good
how's
to hear.
how's work and everything?
It's been busy but good. I've really enjoyed my time out there at Entegris. They definitely keep me on my toes. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a lot to do, but
Hmm.
it's always manageable. It's a good company, so I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
enjoy what I'm doing.
that's good. For those who don't know, can you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, my name is Daniel Moriarty. I am a fourth year mechanical engineering student from the Rochester Institute of Technology. Um, I'm right now in my second round of co-ops. The way co-ops work at RIT is you do a spring and a summer or a fall and a summer twice. So I'm on my second round doing my second spring and summer co-ops. Um, and yeah, I'm from upstate New York. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
They
Yep.
play, just for some context, they play tonight on January 24th. So,
Mhm. Yep.
if they win, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Pardon me. If they lose, I'm going to be sad. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. Uh,
Yeah, I think one of my professors for this year, he also a Bills fan. So let's hope
yeah.
the Bills win so that we have an easy class tomorrow. Hope so.
yeah. That'd be awesome, man.
And yeah. All right.
um,
So, a little bit introduction. Bill, Dan, yeah, my bad. Dan is all
it's
my
okay.
friend. Yeah. One of my best friends in the RIT. So,
Proud to say it, Kong. Proud to say it.
wow. Yep, yep. Yeah, we hang out a lot in our my department. So like we have a little group of mechanical engineers fellows. Yeah. So, so
Yeah.
usually, yeah, the group chat pretty good.
Yeah. It's a pretty
Shout out
fun
to
group
them.
chat.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So let's dive deep into stuff. Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, Kong. I lost you there for a second. My
oh,
internet is a little spotty. That's my bad.
no problem. All right. So let's dive deep into stuff now. Why did you choose? What made you choose mechanical engineering, and what is the story behind that?
So I chose mechanical engineering for a few reasons, but I'll try to keep them brief. I don't
Yeah.
want to spend the whole time talking about it. When I was a kid, favorite show on TV, Mythbusters, right? Adam, Jamie, rest in peace to Grant, Tori, and Carrie. They were all wonderful, right? Love that show.
Yeah, yeah,
And
my favorite too.
yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and really, that's what inspired me as a kid. I love building stuff because of that show, right? Um, and so basically, I worked my way up in high school. And by the time I was graduating high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Um, but I knew that I liked building stuff when I was a kid. And, my scores were good in pretty much every subject. So I kind of had, I was lucky. I was able to kind of choose what I wanted to do. And basically, I had a physics teacher who was like, "Yo, you're good at physics, man. You should probably do mechanical engineering or do some sort of engineering, not mechanical." She's like, "Do some engineering, man. You're good at physics." And I was like, "All right." And then I was looking at different like engineering majors. And my dad was like, "All right, you got to choose a major, but choose one where it's a little flexible. So once you get a job, you can work a bunch of different jobs and you can sort of change careers as you go if you need to." So I was doing some research. Turns out mechanical engineering is pretty applicable to a lot of different situations. So that's why I chose it.
Yeah, yeah. To me, mechanical engineering is just you can go so many different ways. It's like jack of all trades kind of engineering.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Jack of all trades, master of none. But you get to focus on some things if you want
That's
to.
true.
So
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Have you chosen your focus yet?
yeah, so I actually went in as an environmental and energy major.
Okay.
Though my current position at Entegris is not really based on the environment or energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, I'm in the semiconductor industry
Mm-hmm.
and there's no semiconductor option. So,
All right. I see.
you know,
Well, that's why our major is so flexible. You can choose so many different things.
exactly. Yeah. And currently at RIT, I'm minoring in environmental science. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of hoping to tie it all together when I
Yeah,
graduate.
yeah, yeah. Um, so a little bit about RIT. What do you think of RIT so far? Are you happy with it?
Uh, so yeah, for the most part, I am.
Yeah.
There's definitely the best parts are there are a lot of really good people. Uh,
Mhm.
there's some kind of not so great people there as well, but you're gonna get that anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are definitely a lot of good people at RIT. Love the faculty and the staff.
Yeah.
For the most part, I really love the students.
Mhm.
Um, they're funny, like genuinely pretty funny. Um, the only thing I'll say about it is in terms of like when you're talking about like a typical college experience, there's
Mhm.
usually like a balance between like school and social and like fun activities like that.
Mhm.
RIT is more focused on the academics and less focused on like the social and the fun stuff, which
Yeah.
kind of sucks. But there are still those opportunities. They're just fewer and far between. So you got to take more of those opportunities as they come because there aren't as many.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I think my boss mentioned something to me like learning is great. And you also need to have some experience and fun in college too. But at the end of the day, the the major purpose of college is you get a job out of it, like you have
true.
a good career out of it. So
Yeah. I mean, personally, I always see college as like a way to get a career and a way to grow as a person.
yeah, that's true too.
RIT definitely helps you grow as a person. You might have better opportunities other places, but I think RIT does a pretty good job of preparing you as a person too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We have the co-op prepare class, which is a kind of okay. I mean,
yeah,
they just help you prepare with stuff and make you aware of um make you aware of like who you are as a person when you work, stuff like that.
yeah. No, I appreciated that class too, and I'm trying not to sneeze right now. Sorry.
No, no problem. Um, See, I just think of this idea. Like, do you you think you grow as a person when you start working? Like,
Mhm.
do you
Definitely.
definitely? Yeah.
Y-
Like before working, before starting work to go to college, do you have a clear definition of yourself yet?
Uh, well, I think everyone has a sort of semi-transparent definition of themselves that sort of clears up with age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, definitely when I was working, I learned a bit more about who I was as a person, and how I was as a worker, and like how I handled different situations as they came up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Definitely, I found that my first job, I used to work at a pool store. I'll probably still work there again in the summer. I love it. Um, it's actually a lot of fun. For
Mm-hmm.
retail, it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no. Then I actually got my co-op job, which is more of a professional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love that too. It's completely different, obviously,
Yeah.
but you learn how to grow as a person when you're working those kind of jobs. Definitely.
Mm. Like when one normal person get put into like a stressful situation, especially in a job, when you faced with deadlines and stuff, you grow more as a person.
Exactly. Yeah. When you haven't had adversity before, running
Hmm.
into some adversity on the job is actually
Hmm.
pretty useful.
Mm.
Can be
Yep,
stressful, but it is useful.
yep, yep. Learn from it, grow from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Um. So yeah, you mentioned Entegris. Uh. So and you return to Entegris for the second time.
Mhm.
So can you tell me a little bit about like what was the position from the first one, and then what's the difference between from the second one?
Sure. So I'm still working with the same team for the most part.
Okay.
Um, the way our team is set up is our team is like split into two different teams, like little sub teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I switched from one sub team to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So before I was technically my position was an R&D co-op,
R&D.
and now I am a finished goods mechanical engineering co-op. Both of them are under the same big umbrella of R&D
Mm-hmm.
at the company I'm working at, Entegris, Metal Membrane. Um, but now I've switched from more just like research side to more of working on our finished goods.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so my responsibilities are, a lot of them are the same. I still do work in manufacturing. I still do testing of products. Let's see. I test products, manufacture. I do some design in CAD programs, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say what they are, so I'm not going to.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I don't know where the lines are exactly, so the less I say, the better, probably.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, no, I do CAD work. It's all pretty fun. It's definitely a varied job. You know, every day I go in and I probably have something new on my desk to do, and it's a good experience. I like it. That's why I came back.
Yeah. You for the co-op program, you always want to have a different taste of everything, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You want an appetizer platter. You don't want an appetizer plata.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Words I've never been on a podcast before.
That's fine.
Appetizer
Mhm.
platter.
Mhm.
That's the word I was looking for. And you don't want a meal, right?
Yep.
that's what I've gotten in Entegris.
Mhm. So far, so what do you think? What type of engineer you are? Like you are like the processing kind, the designing kind, or do you like the coding kind, like um coding program and then implement stuff with it?
I have done all of those things.
Okay.
And also manufacturing.
Also manufacturing.
Yeah. So basically, I wear many hats.
Okay.
I coded an app
Uh-huh.
on my first co-op.
Mhm.
I did a lot of like designing
Mhm.
of testing apparatus on my first co-op. This time around, I've done more testing of products,
Mhm.
and I'll probably end up designing some other apparatus. So there's a little crossover there.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it's I've done all of that, and it's been interesting,
So you
to say
like
the least.
so you like all of them equally?
Mm. I think design is probably my favorite. Designing and testing is definitely my favorite. So data processing is good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy manufacturing in short bursts. It's nice because it's like a very set schedule. You kind of just get into the flow. Days fly by,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of nice sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get a little repetitive and boring eventually.
Right.
So
Right.
I like the variety that comes with design. And coding is not my thing. I can do it. I just don't like it.
Right. But the more you know, the more useful it becomes. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Coding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So about testing. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about testing? Like
Sure.
what what's so interesting about that and that you like it?
So we make products,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
these products, and I can say this, are
Mm-hmm.
filters. They filter
Right.
air.
All right.
Um, and basically, I get to see how well they filter, and sort of write that down. And so that way, when we design the next one, you know, the next batch, we can learn from the data that we get, and make some small incremental changes uh, to the product. And that way, we make it better over time. And it's pretty cool, in my opinion, because you know these are things that are being shipped out to customers, and I'm learning the exact specs on them, and then I get to assist in making the changes to these products that do get sent out to customers. I think that's kind of cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I have a useful role. You know, I'm not just like bringing coffee to my boss or whatever. He's never actually asked me for coffee, and my former boss, she never asked me for coffee either. So I've never had to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just do work like a normal engineer. It's pretty great. I'm pretty happy with it.
Mm. So like they treat you the same way they would treat a full-time engineer.
Oh yeah, all the people, at least the people I work with do. You know, we have some different rules from like HR. Like we work hourly, they work salary.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
but you know, for the most part, most of the people there do treat me like a normal engineer, which is pretty great.
Awesome. Yeah. That's the
With a
best.
little more lenience, obviously,
That's,
because you know I'm pretty young and new to this. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. You that there's some stuff that they don't expect you to be expert about.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
See, so for me, I kind of like design engineer more.
Mhm.
So the nice things about designing, but you also need to know about, first of all, like how stuff get made, like manufacturing. Like you want to design that so that it's easy to manufacture, right?
Mm.
And also testing. So I never been in a testing job co-op before, so that's why I'm interested in that aspect. Because if you can do some testing, you also learn like how, so this next time I can design this way so that it makes it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It gives you a little more insight onto what the product actually is. It gives a better perspective to the designer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's pretty nice. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, um, describe. Okay, I hope this is not NDA, but can you describe a little bit about like what your timetable like
Yeah,
when you
sure.
got Entegris?
Yeah. So, I get in the morning. Um, for so I have the opportunity to work from home. I haven't done it yet because I've had a lot of lab stuff to do.
Okay.
Um, but basically, where I work, there's an office and a lab, like a floor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so usually I get in, have my cup of coffee, um, which, is pretty nice. Get in. No one's rushing me. I get in whenever I want. Between usually 8 and 9 o'clock. I can get there earlier if I want. I can get there later, but I'd have to leave later. I have to work 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So however you slice it up, it's got to get done. Um, I get in, and usually most days, just open up the notebook and see what I have left to do for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And at the start of the week, I'll usually have either a meeting or um, some stuff from the week previous to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason I'm not giving you like a perfect timetable is
Yeah.
because every day is so varied for me. I don't think I've had the same day twice in a row, at least this co-op yet. Oftentimes, after I do that little morning routine thing, I'll go in for testing. Um, I like to do that first, sort of knock it out of the park, get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll do that if the testing stands are open, because sometimes people are using them, and then I gotta wait. Design work, I usually push to the afternoon if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and oftentimes I have meetings sort of peppered throughout the day, like hour-long meetings with my boss or my team, because a lot of people are working from home. So
Right. Right.
getting everyone on the same page is part of that.
Do you have like a long meetings with a lot of coworkers at the same time? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we have
a massive
we
meeting, you know.
yeah, exactly. We have team meetings, we have like extended team meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. Like we have one of these big meetings every so often, which involves a lot of people, like a really big meeting. And anytime one of my products comes up on there, like we had the same thing go around last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like basically pitching one of my designs to like this huge group of people, all via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Or not Zoom, but what the company uses for
Mm-hmm.
Zoom.
Yeah.
And it was wild. Like it genuinely felt like the eyes of the world were on me at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's watching. I've designed this. I don't know if it's good or not. And it turned out it was pretty good. So,
Cool.
knocked it out of the park. Pretty happy with it.
You feel nervous a lot? Like,
Going up to it, but when it's time to present, like I'll feel anxious about that kind of stuff,
mm-hmm.
while I'm in the lead up period.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm there, it's fine. It's
That's
funny.
good. Yeah. You handle a lot of pressure pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think I do.
Mhm.
Definitely I do feel nervous or anxious leading up to things like that. But
Mhm.
when I'm actually in it, I'm in it. So
That's cool.
yeah.
That's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, let's see. Oh, yeah, the meetings. Do you feel like, okay, do you feel like the meetings a little bit redundant? Like sometimes a little bit, just
A little bit. It
yeah,
can be.
they can.
Sometimes they're like genuinely this semester or this co-op,
Yeah.
they've been better because more people are from home.
Mm-hmm.
So it means a lot more because everyone wants to be on the same page.
Got it. Got it.
But last time around, when more people were in the office, like especially pre-COVID,
Mhm.
I was like, all right, why am I here?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a co-op. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, because it was my first couple of months. I'd
Mhm.
never been a co-op before. I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, why am I here? What am I doing? After that, eventually, it just kind of became like, oh, okay, like this is super useful. So
Yeah, yeah. Like the more responsible you have, the
mhm,
more meaningful those meetings are.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like your words now have more weight. You know.
yeah. I'm no longer just BSing and hoping that what I'm saying isn't wrong. Now it's like, oh, okay, I actually have some skin in the game here. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. Um, you feel you feel comfortable with working Entegris as full-time worker
Yeah,
after you graduate.
yeah, I'd feel comfortable working there.
Mhm.
I mean, hopefully they hire me. Maybe they'll see this and be like, "Oh, this guy."
Yeah, yeah.
uh, no,
That's
no, no.
good.
I hope they do because it is a really nice company to work for. I really like the team I'm on. If
Mhm.
I did work there again, I'd want to be on the same team that I'm on. Um, I mean, I'm sure the other teams are fine too, but I like the people I'm with. So
Right. Um, what did you? Okay. What do you think you learned from RIT that helped you prepare for the co-op?
hmm. Okay. So obviously there's some technical things.
Hmm.
Like a lot of what I learned in Excel ended up being very useful.
Hmm.
So I got to thank Professor Fly for that. Um, Especially like Mechie 102, 104 ended up being pretty useful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Material science in my case ended up being very useful. So those were both freshman classes for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, and then after that, like some of the lab classes I took, applications, let's see, I TA'd one of the classes. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, measurements lab.
Measurement lab. Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty generic name, so
Hmm.
you got to forgive me for that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, those labs were actually very, very useful
Hmm.
uh, and very applied for what I did. There are some technical classes that I haven't really used yet. Like I actually haven't had to do a ton of math quite yet.
Hmm.
I do feel prepared if a mathematical situation comes up.
Hmm.
Like I'm trained on it.
Hmm.
But right now I haven't had to use like differential equations very often. I haven't had to use like anything in like Calc 1 through 3 quite yet.
Hmm.
So, hopefully that comes up at some point. I pretty well prepared for it when it does, but we'll have to see.
When this come up, you can just already Google it, right? So,
Yeah, well, I can Google it and kind of remember it.
mhm.
It's like the
Yeah,
mix of like you're familiar, but you're also Googling it. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a good mix.
yeah. But also, I think that's a general statement that the like I never use calculus or differential equation on my job yet. So to be
Yeah.
fair, yeah. So um, I have used some strength though. That's
Mhm.
a because sometimes I have to calculation like maximum stress and I have to do for the material selection.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff does come up sometimes, and it is useful. So
Mhm.
it's always feel good when you can apply what you learn in a job. Right?
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Last semester, I could have used circuits knowledge. I only took circuits last semester.
Hmm.
The previous co-op term, I could have used that circuits knowledge. I had to like pass a project off because I just didn't know what I was doing in terms of circuits.
Okay.
Uh, so I wish I had taken circuits like freshman year, maybe second year.
Yeah.
I took it too late.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, you got a chance to work on it now.
Exactly. Now I can, but
Yeah.
too late.
Yeah. Um. Oh, w- what circuit knowledge you wish that you had? Uh,
Sorry, you cut out there. What's up?
what circuit knowledge that you wish
Oh,
that you had?
good knowledge. Hmm. I wish I had had basically the ability to do like circuit diagrams and all that kind of stuff last
Um.
time.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, just because I had to make one of those and I didn't
Mm.
know how to do it. Tried
Okay.
Googling it, didn't know what I
Okay.
was doing.
Okay.
Found another co-op, she did. So
Oh, okay. That's cool.
yeah,
See, that's why you have teammates.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. All right. Let's move on. Next question. So, can you tell me a little bit about like what the process was like when you choosing internship? When you choosing,
Sure.
yeah,
So mine is going to be pretty unusual.
okay,
I bulk applied to probably, I have to check my spreadsheet again, but I want to say 70 or 80 companies. Got 0 replies back. Not a confirmation, not an ask for an interview, nothing.
yeah,
Despite the fact that I had good grades, I thought I had a pretty good resume. I wasn't getting anything back. This was the last time around.
mm-hmm.
Eventually, Entegris gets to me and they interview me. Interview lasts 15 minutes. Really enjoyed the interview. Like the technical side was like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Personal side was probably like 20.
Mm,
Really enjoyed the interview. And they offered me a job 4 hours later. So I saw that and I was like, that's pretty good. And then for some weird coincidence, I ended up getting 5 interviews later that afternoon. And I was like, all right, I don't know what happened. I don't know if my email just kind of turned off for like 3 weeks or so and just decided to turn itself back on. But I ended up with like 5 interviews back to back to back to back to back. I thought I did pretty well in all of them, but I didn't like any of the other companies as much as I liked the Entegris interview. So
cool.
I had like a defense company. I had like an aerospace. I didn't really want to do aerospace. And one automotive company,
Mm,
robotics company. And the robotics company was definitely my second choice.
mm,
Um, aerospace up until that point wasn't really something I wanted to do. I actually like fluids now, so I would have been fine with it now, but that's not how I was back then. And yeah, I went with Integris because the people gave a good interview. That's it. Like
right.
they were very personable.
Mm,
And I chose the job based on the people as opposed to the job itself.
wow, awesome.
Yeah, I mean the job itself ended up turning out pretty great, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that at the time. I was like, all right, I liked how these people were talking. They seem good, like good people, so I'm gonna go with
Right,
that.
right, right. Um, what did you, what do you think you did well on that interview?
I just kept it personable. I was myself, and I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of allowed myself to be myself. I didn't try to button myself up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try to make myself more professional or anything like that. I was just me being me because
Mm-hmm.
it was my first ever interview that I'd ever done for a job ever.
Mm-hmm.
The job I had in high school, I didn't have to interview for. I just like walked up and they're like, "You're hired." So
Okay.
this is the first interview I'd ever done for a job,
Mm-hmm.
and all throughout high school, they're like, "Oh, you got to act like this, you got to act like that." I was like, "Screw that! I'm not doing that. I'm going to be me." And then I did, and they ended up hiring me because of it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people make that mistake of overselling themselves on interviews.
exactly, you got
Yeah.
to be honest with what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be straightforward with what your goals are
Mm-hmm.
as a co-op or whatever you're trying to interview for, and just don't try to be someone you're not. Like
Yeah, right.
literally just show up and do your thing. Because if you show up and you're like buttoned up, if you do end up getting hired, they're going to expect you to be like that when you do get hired, and then your life's going to be miserable. So there's no point in
Right,
doing that,
right, right. That is very true.
in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, so you're happy with Entegris, so is there any like downside? Let's be fair here.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's see. So the industry is kind of weird, like semiconductors.
Mm-hmm.
They're still selling me on it.
Mm-hmm.
I always really wanted to get into energy. That
Mm-hmm.
was my goal, to
Yeah.
get into renewable energy,
Yeah.
and this isn't that. So that would be a downside because I'm not sort of going for what I wanted to go for.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, not really. It's a nice place out here. I love Massachusetts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big New York homeboy. I love New York.
Mm-hmm.
But Massachusetts is pretty great too. I don't have to go very far. It's right across the border.
Yeah, I mean, love the Northeast in general. So.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, and you near Boston too, right? So.
Oh yeah, right outside. It's right outside of Boston. I
Yeah.
can literally see it from my apartment. I can see the city.
Oh yeah. So it's near the city, so you have plenty of things to do.
Well, when there's not a pandemic happening,
Oh yeah, of
yes.
course. Oh boy, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
pandemic. Yeah, so can you tell a little bit about like what the job have been affected by the pandemic?
Yeah, sure. So right when the pandemic started, I ended up having a lot of my projects canceled, and I
Okay.
had to work on other projects instead. Um, our company like did a little bit of research work on masks, on like better masks, back at the beginning of the project.
Mhm.
Um, and then we had like a factory that normally produces some of our products, reduce um, quality, or not quality, sorry. Quality was perfect. Reduced quantity, like they stopped putting out as much because they had less workers because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So we had to take over, and I ended up working a lot of manufacturing during the beginning of the pandemic. Um, After that, I ended up doing um, a lot of like work from home design work um, in my CAD programs on my laptop.
Mhm.
Worked out fine. Just sort of had to shift around, and we had some co-ops that had to work completely from home, so I had to like take over some of their projects too. It was a big shuffle. This time around, though, it's pretty simple. There are less people in the office. There are very few people in the office, and there are less people on the floor as well.
Mhm.
So you know, as someone who goes in most days, I have to sort of pick up the pieces on what's left in the office. So I do a lot more work on the floor than I would have otherwise.
Hmm. So seems like your company has been adapting well with the pandemic and everything, right?
Yeah, no, I mean we had like masks available
Mhm.
since like late February,
Mhm.
early March, before
Mhm.
most places even had masks.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so our company's done a very good job of preparing for the pandemic.
Mhm.
You know, when everything was starting to like, when people are unsure on how things were going to go, our company immediately kicked it into overdrive. I
Mhm.
say our company like I own the place. Integris immediately kicked it into overdrive, and they got us prepared early, which was great.
Yeah, that's great. um,
Yeah,
a lot of places that don't seem to take it seriously, but seems
yeah,
like those company in Massachusetts get their stuff together. I
yeah.
mean,
They definitely did.
yeah,
I'm glad they did because I worked
yeah,
there.
yeah. My old company, Vicor, they handle it pretty well too, so quite happy about that.
Yeah.
Especially I have to go in every day, so
Mm.
so all right. So when you first accept the job as intern in Entegris, like how did you prepare for like housing, transportation, and all that stuff?
So I own a car.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of transportation, I just decided I'm gonna get a place which isn't in the city,
Mm-hmm,
so I can get free parking.
mm-hmm,
Um, and for finding my apartment,
mm-hmm.
I used Airbnb actually.
Right.
Long-term stays on Airbnb. That's what
Mm-hmm,
I'm in now.
mm-hmm,
This place is actually pretty nice. I know it doesn't look super nice behind me.
mm-hmm,
All the decorations are on the wall that's in front of me.
mm-hmm,
Behind me, there's nothing. So
mm-hmm.
uh, sorry about that. But
Okay.
upstairs is really nice. There's like a piano, fireplace, like all wood floors, like bay windows everywhere, a whole deck, and it's overlooking the city. It's awesome. My old place kind of sucked. I had a wall that was going like into a window, which was
Mm-hmm,
weird.
mm-hmm,
Like I had like a quarter window. They basically like took a living room and like split it into like thirds so they can sell more rooms.
mm-hmm,
Um, so yeah, that place wasn't great. The city it was in was awesome. I love the city of Lexington.
mm-hmm,
Now I'm not in Lexington anymore, but I loved that city.
mm-hmm.
So it's a shame that I had to move, but that place sucked. So
All right. Yeah. Um, because one of the things is not really talk about that, like if, like after you got a job, like what you do after that is like not like housing, transportation, and all that.
yeah,
It's a big thing. So
that was a struggle.
yeah, that's struggle. Yeah, yeah,
It was hard to find, but figured it out.
yeah. Um, you feel tired or like you had kind of have to move all the time too, right? You don't have like you move like every 6 months basically now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little tired of moving, but at the same time, it's been kind of nice. You know, you get to like see new places and
Mhm.
meet new faces, all that kind of stuff. It's not so bad.
Yeah, yeah. Good sign, down sign, you know.
Yeah, I
Mm.
can always go home whenever I want, so that's sort of like that grounds me. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I've been close enough to home where I can drive if I need to go home,
Hmm.
for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Obviously, during the pandemic, I have to like get tested to go home and all that,
Hmm.
and just be careful.
Hmm.
But
Right.
it's besides that part of it, I've always been close enough where I could feel grounded, which has been nice for sure.
Yeah, that's nice. Um, but then, oh yeah, this is your last co-op, and then next year will be our fifth year. So
Fifth year, buddy,
yeah,
fifth year.
yeah,
That's wild.
I know, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Um, did you, let's say, do you feel comfortable with moving into next year and like have to figure out like, um, senior design and then trying a full-time job and all that? Like, you feel overwhelmed by that?
Try not to think about it really. Uh,
Mm. Okay.
but yeah, no, I mean, it is going to be how it is. That's how it's always been for me. I sort of take challenges as they come to me, and I try not to worry about them too much ahead of time.
Mm.
Um, in terms of full-time jobs, I feel a little comfortable because I don't know if Entegris is going to hire me full-time, but
Mm.
I certainly hope they do. I worked 2 co-ops there now, and
Mhm.
well, after I'm done, I'll have worked 2 co-ops, and
Mm.
assuming I don't royally screw something up, I feel pretty confident if there's an opening, I might have a chance,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
or a good chance.
Hmm.
And being out here again would be pretty cool. It's a
Yeah.
good place to start a career for sure. And as in terms of senior design, I literally have no idea what to expect.
Mm.
We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, you see how it goes. Yeah.
I have a 16 credit semester and then a 14 credit semester coming up. So
Mm. Okay.
I'm seeing if I can take one of those classes online over the summer. And then
Hmm.
I'd be at 13 and 14, should be very nice because I've had 3 back-to-back 17 credit semesters. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to take a break.
Yeah. You told me about that. I was like, oh, that's, how did you even
I,
do that?
I made it harder for myself during the pandemic because I thought to myself, like, oh, like I'm going to be at home. I can't do anything anyways. I can't go out or experience much of anything. So might as well just make it harder on myself academically. And that ended up being the move. Like that ended up working out for me. It didn't work out for everyone.
Hmm.
But in my case, it ended up working out pretty nicely. So now I have the ability to take a 14 credit semester,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I'm hoping I can get 2 of them, or a 13 and a 14. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about like how the campus was like, in a in the fall with RIT dealing with the pandemic and how do you deal with 17 credits? That seems to me it's a lot.
Yeah. So I had 2 classes that were all online.
Hmm.
Um, I had a few hybrid classes and a lab,
Hmm.
2 labs that were in person.
Hmm.
One class, so I had a circuits lab,
Yeah.
which was in person. Actually, no, the circuits lab was online. The circuits class was in person, which is a weird little dichotomy.
Hmm.
I had system dynamics had like a little bit of a lab portion that
Yeah.
was in person a couple of times.
Mhm.
But I took an applications lab that was all on campus.
Yeah.
So it was weird because I would probably go in for most classes once a week, and then the other times would be online. So either once or twice a week online.
Mhm.
And that was really hard for me to juggle. I didn't like it because normally you can get into like a weekly schedule, right? And you can still get into a weekly schedule,
Hmm.
but it's harder when all of the 5 days are wildly different in terms of when you need to wake up, when things are due. Like you can get into like a broader weekly schedule, but
Hmm.
it's really hard when there's no like repeat days during the week,
Hmm.
which I've always had.
Hmm.
So that was really difficult. It was also pretty difficult because I took system dynamics, which is one of the notoriously difficult classes at RIT,
Yeah.
and linear algebra, which is also pretty notoriously difficult
Mhm.
at the same time.
Mhm.
So,
And
you know,
Apps Lab too.
Apps Lab, yeah, that was just time consuming. It wasn't difficult in terms of like
Really?
content, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, I mean, Apps Lab for me was, I had a good group of people. It was awesome. Shout out to Mike and Justin. And, I'll even give a shout out to the other group, Andrew, Max, and who else was in the group? Joe. Of course, I'm not going to forget Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Andrew, Max, Joe, they were another group that was working on the same project. Also great friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, they helped us a lot in terms of like theory.
Mm-hmm.
That was useful.
Yeah. Well,
But that class took about 12 to 14 hours a week. It's a 2-credit class. So
yeah, then I'm taking that one this semester too. So.
Oh, how are you doing with that, Gong? Have you started yet?
Oh no, we start class on tomorrow. So yeah. Well,
Oh, buddy, good luck.
Yeah. Well, had to take it, man. Had to take it to graduate. So here we are. Yeah.
Yep. So. Prepare yourself. Do work earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
That's what we learned in that class.
Do you like some of the stuff, some of the classes online? Did you enjoy it?
I didn't not enjoy it. So like it wasn't awful, but I didn't love it. I definitely learned more from in-person classes, but also this semester I didn't like any of our in-person classes because none of them felt super safe. Yeah. Like RT did a good job of trying to make things as safe as possible, which I appreciate. But given the situation and the fact that I was trying to be extra careful, and I still am trying to be extra careful, it felt kind of needless to go in person for classes when like half the classes are already on Zoom anyway.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that they just picked one way, or just to like pick one way, put everything online. I'm sure there's like a financial reason they're not going to, but literally last semester they could have thrown everything online and it probably would have worked out just fine for us. You don't learn as much. So there is an argument to be made there, but also I don't think I learned as much from the in-person classes when they were hybrid style. I think I learned more from all in person before the pandemic than I did last semester when there was like a hybrid style. And I didn't really like the hybrid style, to be honest.
Gotcha.
But
got it.
That's how things have to be.
Yeah.
I'm fine with all online though. I didn't learn as much from those classes, but I performed better. And it's not like I learned nothing from them either. I definitely learned. I had to study more to perform better. So
right. But then there's some in-person lab that still need to be like you still need to do the lab. You still need to build some stuff, to get to experiment, get the results. Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. Though our circuits lab is the same way, and we did that from home. They just sold us essentially the equipment we needed, and we did everything from home. So
okay.
I'm sure you could work it out with students somehow to make it pliable to do it from home, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. I would suppose that the lab portion would be in person, and the online class, and then like the lecture will be online.
Yeah.
Let's switch it. That's so weird.
Yeah, we had one lecture a week that was in person,
okay.
and then he would always upload it online anyway. So those lectures got emptier and emptier as the semester went on because it was online anyway. Yeah. So I felt bad for him, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It is how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah. All right, what we talk about. How you so between work and school, how you do outside of working, and what do you do for fun in general?
So up until recently, I love doing judo. It's my favorite sport. I never was like a tournament fighter or anything, but I did do some junior tournaments when I was younger. Not like an Olympic fighter or anything, but I love doing those tournaments. They were always fun. I always was pretty competitive, not to like a detriment. Like I'm not gonna like punch your face in if I lose or something, but I always wanted to sort of be the best version of myself, even when I was a kid.
Right.
So I love judo. I can't do it right now because of COVID, obviously. so I'm temporarily retired.
Yeah, right.
But I love that sport. Aside from that, during the pandemic, I haven't done a whole lot. I love just hanging out with people, honestly, and just meeting new people and experiencing new things.
Right.
And during the pandemic, I haven't done any of that, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just been video games and chilling right now.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
You think with judo that that helps you to develop as a person?
Oh yeah, I mean, it really was the crux of making me who I am.
Wow.
It it definitely helped with competition. Well, I was a big chubby kid. I'm still a little portly, but it got me in shape. I got pretty strong from it. It taught me how to how to be a better teacher, actually, because I had done it from a young age. So whenever new people at my age came in, I had to teach them a lot, and that was great. And it sort of taught me how to learn better as well. So the class taught me how to learn, how to teach, taught me a little bit of Japanese. I can count to 20. And I know all the anatomy words in Japanese, which is wild. I don't know anything else, just the anatomy, like hand. I know how to say throw or wheel. All that's in my head from judo. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a useful teacher.
Yeah. And I think there's a point to be made with teaching too. Like you learn twice when you teach. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That is a really good point.
Yeah. Come back to the TA stuff. Like, when you were TA for measurement lab, and
yes,
you feel how you feel about teaching that class, and what did you learn more when you actually teach it?
So when I was a TA, I did a lot of grading.
Mhm.
I'm a teacher's assistant. I'm not the
Yeah.
teacher. So I did a lot of grading, and I just helped people with their labs. I felt as though I wasn't always the most useful resource.
Mhm.
I would try to help people to get a good as grade as possible and to learn as much as possible.
Mhm.
But there were definitely lapses in my knowledge of that class when I took it. Not when I took it, but when I was teaching it. And not often, but there were definitely a few occasions where I had to lean on the teachers to be like, I don't know. Which is pretty normal, I guess, for TAs.
Yeah.
But it was a new experience for me where I'm required to teach something and I don't know all of it. So yeah, no, it was an interesting experience, definitely.
And you told me some like when at the end of your co-op in Entegris, you also need to teach the new co-op too, right? So,
that was fun. So at the end of my last co-op, I got to basically train the next co-op to take over my projects. Also an RIT student, Anthony, great kid. I say he's a kid, but he's like my age. So it was great. I got to teach him what I was doing, how tips of the trade, how you can do things better. And I didn't have that. I just started cold turkey pretty much. I stuck around for about 4 or 5 weeks after my term was over as a co-op, and just worked as a temp for 4 or 5 weeks after. So that's why I got to teach him how to do everything. And I hope it was useful for him, but it was also really useful for me. It sort of reminded me what I'm doing at the company.
Right.
And when I started working there again, I got to pick up from that.
Right.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely because again, when you teach stuff, you have to articulate your thoughts and put it into word in a way that they can understand. You know what I mean? So
exactly. Yeah.
your ideas get sharpened, and and it helps you develop as well. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Is there any hardship when you have to move around all the time? There any time you feel lonely and that kind of stuff?
I mean, I definitely miss my friends from RIT and from back home. That's less from moving and more from the fact that COVID's going on. Yeah. I'm close enough to home. At RIT, I got my friends at RIT. When I'm at home, I got my friends at home. Out here, I got my coworker friends. but we're coworkers, so it's a little more professional.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so like I haven't met a ton of people out here just
Mm.
because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I met a few people, my last roommates, current roommates, pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I haven't like gone out to like bars or whatever and just like met people. I only turned 21 over the last summer, so I couldn't do that last year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shame, definitely. I do miss a lot of my friends from back home and such, but Zoom or Discord or whatever has been really useful for keeping up with people, at least virtually.
That's true.
It's been nice, definitely, when I can catch up with people. But yeah, no, sucks for sure.
Yeah. But technology helps. I mean,
Technology does help.
yeah, like 40 years ago with the pandemic, like they would just have to call on the phone all the time. It sucks, and we cannot see each other's
I'd be
face.
sending telegrams back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. Yeah.
It's,
So at least
that'd be a shame.
yeah, at least it's 2021, so yeah, we can Zoom each other like this.
Yeah, exactly. We got this little situation going on here.
Yeah, which is cool. I like it. Yeah. So okay. What do you hope to gain after college?
Well, a job, definitely.
Yeah.
A career, the beginning of one.
Mhm.
But I just hope that I can keep a lot of the the friendships I made at college. It's important to me because I've had a lot of good people at college and while working as a co-op. So want to maintain that, get a good career, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
I don't have long-term plans. I always try to keep things a little more short-termed, and I have a couple of long-term like vague goals. Like I'd like to travel to Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I'd like to travel to different parts of the country, like the West Coast. Those are like vague goals, right? Like those are things I want to do. But I don't have a set plan for how I'm going to do it because I like the flexibility of being able to just wake up every day and make my decisions for the day then.
Right.
So.
Right. Should get to Vietnam sometime.
I'd love to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
You gotta take me there, Kong.
Yes, totally, man. If I'm not able to, then I can help. Like I can contact my friends, so I can help you with traveling and not get scammed.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So there's a question that I really get into recently. Start with Sam, but do you think the stereotype of engineering guys, like how you think on that stereotype of engineering guy, like sometimes we get a little bit awkward and not really know how to communicate and all that, like explain that.
So that stereotype exists for a reason. They're definitely out there. I have met less of them in the field than I have. I watched the podcast with Sam, by the way, so I saw her thing.
Yeah.
I experienced less of them in the field, especially compared to her. In the field, most of the people that I've worked with, the guys in engineering, there are definitely a couple that were like, they fit the stereotype. Very hard to interact with. Some couple of people that have done some like just weird stuff that I just wasn't a fan of. But none of them that really like, they. Both of those people were co-ops, and I don't think they came back. No, they were interns. Even they were around for like a couple of months and then gone. So the stereotype exists for a reason because they're out there. At least where I've worked so far in the field, I've rarely met them. I've met more of them at RIT as students, I think. I definitely see them around a lot. They're usually in their room playing video games or whatever anyway. So, it's like, I guess I'm not one to talk during this pandemic, but pre-pandemic, I would always try to get out and experience things a little more. But yeah, no, that stereotype exists for a reason, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not as prevalent as people make it out to be, though.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, can you think of like good reason, and then a solution for that?
I think a lot of it just has to do with people that are very interested in like math and science,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of get like too into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's perfect. It's perfectly fine to study it and to like learn it. But when you make it your entire life, that you sometimes sacrifice things like social skills and all
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
and I think that's pretty unhealthy,
Yeah.
honestly.
Got it.
So yeah, I think the solution is from a younger age, teaching people, so kids, that going all in on one goal probably isn't the way to go. You should always have like a little bit of a rounded background. You should
Mm-hmm.
take some liberal arts classes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should spend a lot of time in high school, especially hanging out with people and talking with people.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you're talking to, just find like a group and just spend a lot of time with that group.
Right. Right.
Because if you end up like isolating yourself or not spending enough time working socially,
Mm-hmm.
you'll end up in a situation where you lack social skills as an adult, and that's where you get the stereotype from.
Yeah. Okay. And from the realistic point of view too, I feel like lacking social skills can also be harmful in a job too. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
so like
for sure.
not be able to communicate like what your ideas are, and not understand other people's idea. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
make the
You
job
could be
even
like,
harder.
you could have like a 5 out of 4 GPA, right? Show up to work
Mm-hmm.
and just be the smartest person in the room. But
Mm-hmm.
if you can't communicate, that means nothing. It literally means jack shit. Sorry,
Yeah.
swearing.
It's fine.
Yeah, it literally means jack shit. If you can communicate and you're like, I don't know, a 3 out of 4 or whatever, and you're a very good communicator and you're good at working with people, you're gonna be better at your job than the person who's like a 5 in almost every single way. I really mean it.
Yep. Yep.
It's honestly, people way overvalue just like book smarts and stuff, which is still very useful,
Yep.
and you still need to work at it. But I think people really overvalue it. I think just having good communicators is honestly more important.
Right. I think about it like a stats in the video games. Like you
Yeah.
try to maximize like as many skills as possible, not
If you
just
min
focusing
max,
one. Yeah.
if you min max, you're gonna end up in situations where that min pops up and then you're screwed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Like
So
you very strong, but then your health is not a lot. You get one
yeah,
hit and you die.
it's just one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that's the way I think about it.
No, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, overvalue it. I don't see. This is why I try to be more precise in my speech. So
Mhm.
that's just one of the reasons why I get into podcasts and stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah,
this is a good way to practice that,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. So it's a other way like helping me to also with helping others, but in a way it's helped me too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think you're doing a great job at it, by the way, Con. I
Oh,
am
thank
not
you.
trying to equate you to these 5 out of 4 GPA students
No,
at all. You're a
yeah,
very good communicator and always have been.
yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, there definitely are out there like
Mhm.
those people that just don't know how to act
Yeah,
socially.
yeah,
Not even
yeah,
like with communication, it's just like with their actions.
yeah,
Um, it's a big problem.
yeah, yeah. Lacking social skills and all that.
Mhm.
Mm. Well, um, do you have any advice in general for the guy? Okay, first of all, advice for the guys in engineering, and then advice for college students.
Shower daily. Aside from that, uh, just try to go out more.
Yeah,
Obviously, you can't during the pandemic, so
right.
don't take this advice during the pandemic.
Yeah,
But pre-pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic,
mhm,
spend more time with people.
mhm,
Doesn't mean you have to do crazy things. You don't have to like go drag racing or do drugs or whatever. You don't have to do like anything crazy, but like just like go out with people and hang out, meet more
mhm,
people,
mhm,
get a bigger group, and spend more time with the group you're in.
mhm,
It really makes a huge difference.
mhm.
I'd say freshman year, I spent a lot of time doing that, just like hanging out with people. And I grew more as a person during freshman year. And I didn't take like hard classes. I didn't focus as hard on my classes. I had to like learn how to be a better student the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But it really helped me grow as a person to make that transition from high school to college. So
Right.
to make that transition, you have to study and work hard, but really make sure you take enough time to spend with new people and your friends that you've already made. It's important.
Right. How about like taking classes not in your major? Like, what do you think about that?
It's a good idea. I think you need to get a little bit of a rounded background.
Mm-hmm.
I have always been a better writer than an engineering student. That was my strength in high school.
Yep.
So not everyone's gonna be the same way I am, but take some classes that are very different from what you normally would take as a major. Like if you're an engineering major, take some writing classes, take some maybe take a movie class or an art class, a history class perhaps, and just get some background. It's really useful.
Yeah, and then also as a job, you also sometimes you need to write the spec for the product, like stuff like that. You always need a writing skill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be useful for your job, but the reason I think it's most useful is it will help you grow more as a person.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
And I think that's an invaluable part of college. So.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any final words for the listeners? Like, you have any final advice, I guess?
Drink a lot of water. The more hydrated you are, the better you are. I'm serious. Genuinely
yeah.
serious. You'll lose weight. You'll feel better. You'll have less headaches. It's awesome. Drink water.
Drink water.
Aside from that, just whenever you're applying and you're interviewing and whenever you're working, make sure not to button up. Literally just be who you are. Obviously don't do some like dumb stuff, right? But like also just be who you're going to be when you're working, because that's what's important.
Right. Well, it's been like an hour, but I think that's have got good stuff here. So
hey, sorry to make it run so long, man. I appreciate it.
No. I always want to be as long as possible. To be honest, like we have a lot of things to unwrap. So yeah.
I can ramble a little bit too. Once I get going, once you get me going, it's over. I can talk.
I appreciate that. I mean, I always appreciate people sharing their thoughts and all that. So, all right. Thanks again for coming to the podcast. And I really appreciate our talk. So
yeah, Kong, thank you very much for having me, man. It's been a great time. Really appreciated it.
Thank you for anyone who's still listening. So appreciate that. Have a good day.
You too, man. Take care.